every day is a faith muscle because you're dealing with kids who have had everything stripped away.
Yeah.
Who have to face the fear of needing something and never having someone to call after 18 or 19 and having identity. And that makes me emotional. Because you have to point them to the Lord and create that identity. And so seeing God show up for them is the coolest thing. And that requires faith muscle all the time because I am not someone's savior.
Yeah.
And I cannot show up for someone that the way that they need in order to heal.
Wow.
But I can introduce them to them.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Faith Ignite podcast. We're so excited you decided to share this day and this moment with us. Hey, before we jump into today's episode, I want to ask you to do a few things. If you're new here, welcome. Hey, I would ask that you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn the notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And then secondly, if you want to partner and support this ministry, you can follow the link below and it'll take you to our website so we can continue to take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Just go ahead and drop a comment below, reach out to us on social media, send us an email, however. But just let us know so we can be standing in faith and in agreement with what you're believing God to do in your life. And so today we have a really, really important guest with us today. We were trying to schedule this for months at a time now, so we finally got it done. But our guest is a native of Tulsa. She worked in corporate America as a communication and marketing wizard, and then stepped away when she felt God was calling her to something more to be able to help and shape our community and the world at large. And so I think back in 21, and correct me if I'm wrong, she started Project Orphans, which is located in Uganda, and they pretty much help and foster or provide foster care, educational supplies and resources to people in that area. And then shortly after, several years after, they started Tulsa Girls Home, which is here located in Jinx, Oklahoma. And they are pretty much providing transitional homes and housing for people or specifically girls that age out of foster care and be able to help them set themselves up for success. And so we'll dive a little more into it as the episode goes on. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome our guest, Mrs. Brittany Stokes.
Thank you for having me.
Well, Brittany, one way we love to start every podcast episode. Who do I have the pleasure of sitting with?
Oh my goodness. I feel like that is a difficult question.
It's a loaded one.
Because when you ask that, I immediately go to, that feels kind of loaded.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say first and foremost out of anything, servant to the Lord.
Yeah.
And I don't take that very lightly. Because I know how quick life can come and go.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, wife, mom to those who call me mom that necessarily maybe I didn't birth and or adopt, but they, stepping into that role.
Yeah.
I would say friend, business owner, leader, servant, all the things. So, and always learning. So, life student forever.
So, kind of in the bio, what I was talking about so I'm curious, I guess before we jump into that, I'm always interested in a good love story. Obviously, Kyron was on the podcast a couple months ago, but how did you guys end up, how did this whole thing happen?
I feel like that is so funny. First off, I better get more views than Kyron, I know everyone loves Kyron, And so it's like people get introduced through me and then they meet Kyron and they're like, oh, Kyron is so awesome. And it just never hears the end of it. But actually we were like best friends in college and we met our freshman year and I literally called him little boo-boo and I was cheering. He played basketball. I introduced him to every guy I was dating because I needed food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I needed to make sure all those were covered. And we were just really good friends.
Yeah.
And we never really dated until after I graduated.
Okay.
And we had actually just both got out of relationships. And so it was more just hanging out. And then I was like, why have I never dated Kyron? And, you know, I was like, why would I date Kyron?
Yeah.
And we just went out to dinner, and I was like, well, this one seems like easy enough.
Yeah.
Like, we'll just do this. And 6 months later, it was just, honestly, it was just so natural. And it felt like I didn't have to be anyone other than me, and he wasn't going to be anyone else other than who he was supposed to be. And in that, I felt like he was just the qualities of just like honesty and love, and just like going to be there. And I mean, he's just not the perfect person, but I will say one of the best things is no matter what, like when there is something that, you know, maybe we got to work on or we got to fix, like he just is the type that like takes it to that level of like, I'm going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And I just admire that. That's a quality he does, I feel like, as a father, as a spouse, as a friend, and as someone who works. And it kind of makes me emotional. So we're not going to do that right now. This is not the Kyron show, but he is I'm very blessed. Life, this journey that we've been on since marriage, and just even stepping into ministry and faith. Yeah. Marriage is a decision, but outside of that, even stepping into the ministry that, you know, I felt like I was called to do, wouldn't have been possible without a spouse who was committed to that same level of faith and that same depth of like how deep you got to go and when you carry people.
So you said something interesting. So obviously marrying Kyron, one of the best decisions, and I could fully concur everything she says. But having someone that has the same level of faith and being able to step into something, and what does that look like for you? Because I've seen it where people, they get married and then they feel God, or they feel they're called to do this, and then someone's feel called to do that, and so you have this pulling apart. But you guys had a shared vision. So what does that look like to be able to walk together, especially being married now, come into agreement and be able to say, no, we're going to step in faith and do what God has called us together?
Yeah. So I feel like everything we do is together, whether him being a coach was us together, whether me starting Project Orphans, that was us together. Even though necessarily we're not in the business together, right? Everything is together. And so there was times when he was a coach and our marriage was like he wasn't there and I needed him. And he had that balance. And even when ministry is happening, you have to see, even though you're called, doesn't mean your first and foremost ministry is your home, your family. Yeah. And I think that's where we've always kept ourselves in check. But I think the faith journey, just even whenever I was working in corporate America and then the Lord just like dumping Project Orphans on my spirit, not even knowing what that was. Yeah. And really the first 5 years of Project Orphans was raising funds for other organizations. Wow. And I look at that time and it was awesome. It was amazing. We were raising funds for a home in Uganda, a home in Brazil, a home in Haiti, actually multiple homes in Guatemala. And I look at that time just sowing into others in that ministry. And it was really the blueprint for what we did in Project Orphans in Uganda. And I think it saved a lot of mistakes. Okay. We learned a lot. And then I remember when the Lord was like, okay, now it's time to like plant root in Uganda. And I think that 5th year was the year that like God like sevenfold what we had given, which wouldn't even have been possible in my mind. But sometimes it's like people see it today and they don't know that 5 years was never doing anything to even build what we have now. Yeah. And 5 years was really planting seeds and learning and growing and cheering on others in the cause. Yeah. And I think that's so important to look at that part. Yeah. Because building anything, building any vision, walking in any faith requires walking through the desert, requires serving someone. Sometimes God calls you into a job and you may not like it, but you're there to learn to serve. And that attitude you do when you're there, I mean, the Lord's seeing that. Yeah. So I think that's really important.
Wow. So I guess we'll just get into it. So with Project Orphan, how did all of that come to be? Yeah. I mean, obviously, because you're in corporate America, probably making really good money, and then all of a sudden God decides to change and pivot things concerning your life. And so how did that come to be?
Yeah, I was in corporate America, working a lot of time. And I just remember not liking who I was becoming. Just not that there was anything wrong, but it was just high speed. I was so fixated on my brands or the companies that I was working with. And I'm like, what am I doing for eternal value? Like I was depleted in all the sense. And so I had to step back and was like, I don't like who I am right now. I don't like what, it's not about the money.
Yeah.
I'm very empty. And is this where I'm supposed to be still?
Yeah.
And I just remember chewing on that for a while. And the Lord, I just kept hearing like just Project Orphans. And then my best friend from college called, and she was in corporate America as well. And she, continues to still work in corporate America, but just this nudge from the Holy Spirit. And we're like, well, we have no idea what this is.
Yeah.
But why not, help people who are in different countries and, sow into them as they're taking care of the orphan. And specifically, I think the fact that it said in the word, how you treat the orphan and the widow is how you treat me. Like, holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're going to get to heaven one day and the Lord's going to be like, well, what'd you do for the orphan and the widow? And I never had seen that scripture shout so strong. And it kind of just puts you in your, it should make you stop.
Yes.
Hardcore. And so we just kind of started that way. And then after about 5 years, really felt the Lord saying, hey, it's time to plant in Uganda and establish an NGO. We had our in-country directors, George and Sarah, who we had built relationship with for 3 to 4 years there. And what started out as just helping kids who were vulnerable, at risk, working with the local police, the orphaned, sending them to school, now created a campus where there's foster care homes for refuge and a church and a hospital with the only emergency room in the district where the hospitals for government are now referring to us, and a special needs center, life skills center, preschool. I mean, I know I'm probably forgetting things because it's way more than ever I could have imagined or dreamt up. And what's amazing is anytime I look back on this journey, even with Tulsa Girls Home and Project, it's just a yes to obedience. And that's why when you said, who are you? I think when you do give your life to the Lord, the first thing is you are a servant to his calling. And
So, let's go on the other one. Let's talk about obedience, because like you said, for the first 5 years, you guys weren't doing anything for Project Orphans, but it was sowing seed, and to the natural mind, that makes no sense. You can be able to put that money in a bank account, start building up for 5 years, and then when you do start, you're
ready to go.
Exactly. Yeah. So to the natural mind, it doesn't make sense, but you guys are being obedient and being led to sow seed. So kind of talk to me about that process of obedience, because that's not something that's very glamorous today.
Yeah. And also I think drawing on the fact that you're doing Project Orphans and then I'm doing Project Orphans and then I'm still having to work. Yeah. And so, I was hustling jobs, having clients, I never took a dime from the ministry for, I think 10 years, at least until we started Tulsa Girls Home in 2021. Wow. So from 2012 to 2021, that was sowing time and energy and resources into a ministry that I truly believed in. And so I think it came to a point in 2021 where it was now I needed to commit to this. Yes. And, but obedience, I think it just requires, trust in the Lord. I looked at it too, the relationships that we created, but also just the mentorship. There is something so special about sowing and planting into others and then learning from them, hearing where their downfalls were, hearing where they would have taken different turns. And that's invaluable. I think anyone who says, let's skip this and go straight to let me try, you really are missing out on an opportunity to understand wisdom. And I think even developmentally, I'm a therapist as well, there's something so special about you. It is actually more harmful if a baby just starts walking but doesn't learn how to crawl, like depth and everything. And I think that's just so important for us to understand is like it's the process is refinement and it's strength and it's building muscle, and whether that be heart muscle, wisdom, emotion, and faith muscle. You know, I will say even today my faith muscle is worked. And the minute it probably isn't working is when I'm relying on people.
Oh, that's okay. So talk to me about that piece where, like you talked about, your faith muscle is always working. And one thing I'm learning now, God's always calling you to more. When you think you got to a point, you're like, okay, I just, you know, my faith produced this great. Let me take a little break.
Yeah.
But it's always like, nope, keep going. And then you're like, it's always something next and higher and higher and higher. So talk to me about that never-ending use of your faith, even when it comes to like Tulsa Girls Home.
Yeah. Well, both Project Orphans and Tulsa Girls Home, I think there's so much to understand in the fact of whether it be a donor or you know, how you build is through sometimes people. Yeah. And that is what's so cool about PO and TGH that I think has taught me the most is no one was led to give because Brittany told them to give. Everyone who really invested into this cause was nudged by either the Holy Spirit or a call or a feeling that they felt they were supposed to do something. And I think that is so special because it just allows the glory to be given back to him. And anytime someone thinks, oh, I built this or I did this, you really are stripping from who actually did it. And so that's why I always say, when you ask that question, who is Brittany? No one without him. Wow. Truly, like no one. And that's really something that's so pivotal because anything that I am, wife, mother, daughter, sister, friend, CEO, it's really nothing without his guidance because I'm doing it then out of my own, and I will fail. And so with the faith muscle, there's been times even when just stepping out to foster and beginning that journey, Kyron and I, you know, and he was, you know, sometimes the faith muscle is working on one side more than the other. You know, he's sometimes a little slower, but I love that he's always like, you know what, at this point, babe, if you're feeling it, we're going to just go for it. But, you know, that was a big journey. And there's a lot of people who don't understand why we were choosing to do what we were doing and how we were choosing to live our lives and what our family was called to look like. Even in corporate America, like, I loved working and making money. This is not my dream job. This requires a lot of heart. And I don't love being vulnerable at all. I'm not someone who ever enjoyed kids, wanted to hang out with kids. And it's so funny because anytime I said, oh, I wouldn't do that though, the Lord's like, oh, well, you're going to now be tender for special needs children, or you're going to be tender now for, and it's again, like giving your yes to him. And I think that's where the faith journey and that faith muscle is always working. And I get it when you're done and you think, okay, this is great. I'm going to sustain this and do well. And that's really where I've been at maybe for the past year and a half is, Lord, like, I cannot take on anything right now. Like just, and I think that is okay to have rest periods. But I also think that it's not good to get comfortable in comfortability. Especially when there is a calling. And that takes, again, surrounding self with people who are like, hey, you're good now. Like, you got to take that next step. And that's sometimes scary because no one wants to fail. No one wants to put it out there. I mean, every time, oh, hey, we're going to go build a hospital. What if no one does anything, you know? But again, it's not about Brittany. And the minute I'm afraid that we're going to fail because of what I'm going to look like, I'm doing it for myself. And so I just look at the Lord. I'm like, okay, if you are the one who's saying, like, I'll say it for you. Because he's going to need that person to say it. But then you better back me up, Lord. It's really cool to see how he does that over and over again, and not for personal gain or anything. Obviously, I do think he's showing love and his power to me and how big of a God we serve. Yeah. But most importantly, how he really shows up for the orphan and those who need him. Wow. And so,
So, I don't know, you may have a whole list of examples, but like, what was it like when you were in the valley at that point where you were trying to figure out, like, Lord, I need you to come through for me. Mm-hmm. If you don't, like, we're going to look like fools. Mm-hmm. Like, what are some of the stories, because you probably have countless, but what are some of those stories where your faith muscle was stretched and tested and all the sorts?
Yeah. I can think of a few. I remember one time we had our big, like, fundraising gala and raised a ton of money. Yeah. And the next morning, the Lord was like, okay, you need to go ask now for, like, literally the next morning, like, you need to go ask for money to build a special needs center. And I'm like, are you kidding me? We just raised all this money for all this other stuff. And I'm like in the shower. Yeah. Like, so frustrated with him because I'm like, I'm just going to look greedy. Yeah. And not even like, I was like, okay, this is insane. And just put it out there on social media and was like, hey, or maybe it was just a conversation I was maybe having with Christina, the co-founder, and it was just like, hey, we need to ask for this, and not even just the obedience. Yeah. Like 20 minutes later, I get a call and they're like, hey, you were supposed to ask for something that you didn't ask for. Wow. And like, what is it? And that was a really cool moment. And we've had multiple moments like that. I think of Tulsa Girls Home when we were opening it, and just the amount of backlash we got to give home to girls in foster care. I mean, these are not drug addicts. They are 14 to 18-year-olds who've been abused. Like, these are victims, and they deserve a home. And, I mean, the neighbors not wanting that, and it getting on the news, and color becoming a thing, and decrease of property value. I'm like, we are in 5 acres on Kellyville. Like, there is no property value out here. And just it getting to the place where I was like, okay, we've just put a down payment on this home. Yeah. You know, we are under contract. Like, what am I going to do if this falls through? And like, it got all the way to the White House. The really? Fact that, yes. Actually, I had another governor from a different state say, if Oklahoma is not going to help you get this done, we will move your family to, I think it was like South Carolina or somewhere, Georgia. And it was like, and we'll take you, and and you can do it, you know. And it passed and everything. But, oh my gosh, you talk about people who had sown into the vision and carrying that responsibility and then thinking there's not going to be an issue. But then again, like, look at God and look at the glory that came through with that. And I mean, no press is bad press. So, you know, that's always good too.
Hey, those years of corporate America helped.
100%. And so that was definitely a situation. And then I think every day is a faith muscle, because you're dealing with kids who have had everything stripped away. Yeah. Who have to face the fear of needing something and never having someone to call after 18 or 19 and having identity. And that makes me emotional. Because you have to point them to the Lord. Yeah. And create that identity. Yeah. And so seeing God show up for them is the coolest thing. Yeah. And that requires faith muscle all the time, because I am not someone's savior. Yeah. And I cannot show up for someone the way that they need in order to heal. Wow. But I can introduce them to them.
Wow. So for that person is listening and want to get involved, and how can they get involved in what you guys are doing?
Yeah, so Project Orphans, I think one of the best ways to get involved and really experience the organization is sponsoring a child's education. It's $35 a month, and I mean, that feeds a kid and sends them to school, and how amazing is that? Yeah. And these kids are dedicated, and they love their sponsors in a way I can't even put to words. So with Project Orphans, that coming on a trip is like a game changer, or just supporting the organization in itself. And then with Tulsa Girls Home, I'm going to say advocacy is huge. Like, reiterating the story of who we're serving at the girls' home. Yeah. So, yes, we have the transitional living program, but also we have our girls 14 to 18. And so it's, it's a journey, and making sure people understand, like, kids in foster care are not bad. They are true survivors, and they are the orphan in the world and in our backyard, and we can't ignore that. And so whether that is just speaking life about a kid who's maybe in foster care, being open to serving in the children's ministry and helping those mamas who are foster parents, or supporting the Tulsa Girls Home, it's hard to have a ton of people come in and volunteer. Yeah. So financial support, I know it's not always the funnest way to get involved. It doesn't always, you don't get to get that feeling good the same way as like maybe holding a child but we need support. We need to keep the lights on. We need to pay staff. We need counselors and therapists and all the things. And then when they are ready to find home, if that is a calling and that is your next yes, like fostering and adoption, is a game changer. It is not an easy journey. And following the Lord is never an easy journey. And if you think it is, you're not following him hard enough. Yeah. And so that's good. Yeah. So one way we always like to wrap up every episode, if you can go back to your younger self or someone that's listening on the end of this podcast, what piece of advice would you give them? I would say, when you think you have it planned out, it's not even close. Mm-hmm. And be okay with the inconveniences along the way, because those are the things that will shape you. Yeah. We can become so stuck in how we see our world. But when someone is needing you, or you see a need, even if it's that quick trip, like getting a drink, don't be so busy that we can't meet needs of others. Yeah. And I think if I wasn't in this life, I would very much be in that rut. And so I intentionally, even though I am in ministry and I serve, I intentionally wake up and say, Lord, you do what you need to do with my day, because I'm not in control of it. Wow. And it is okay to be inconvenienced by his plan. Yeah. That is, we should put a wall with all these sayings and these quotes that you have, hang them around this place. But Brittany, first off, thank you so much for the work that you do and your obedience and yes to God, because it is making a difference. I heard a friend tell me this a couple weeks ago. He's like, he's been serving in high schools and mentoring kids for 20 plus years. That's awesome. And he doesn't always get to, he doesn't do it for the 5 years, 10 years down the road where it's like, I remember when you poured into it. He doesn't do it for that. But it's always a blessing when they come back and they say, hey, I remember when you mentored me, so on and so forth. And you may not get those calls, or you may not get those letters or whatever, but the work that you guys are doing is changing the lives of so many. You don't know if you're taking care and housing and providing for the next president of the U.S. You don't know the extent of where these kids are going to end up, but you're doing your part to help and shape them. And so thank you so much for that, for sure. Well, thank you. And thank you for giving the space to share. Oh, story. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to wrap up for this episode. But like I said in the beginning, hey, if this podcast has helped you, shaped you, encouraged you, motivated you, uplifted you, ignited your faith, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, turn that notification bell on so you are aware when new episodes are released. And if you want to partner with this ministry, just follow the link below and you'll go ahead and it'll take you to our website. You can help us take these stories of faith around the world to the people that need them. And then lastly, hey, if something's going on in your life, we would love to know about it. Like I said, drop a comment below, but send us an email, reach out to us on social media so we are knowing what we're praying for and how we can be supporting you in this time. And so, like I said, we're going to sign off for now. But until next time, this has been Faith Ignite. We'll see you guys next time.